Rook and pawn endings in chess are the most common type of ending, and if you understand what you should be thinking about and what you should be doing, you're going to be a better endgame player. In this video, we're going to look at this position right here, which has equal number of pawns, but white has a small advantage in the pawn structure, and you're going to see exactly how Capablanca approaches this and how you can apply it to your games as well. This is game number 10 in a series where we're going through this book, Capablanca's Best Chess Endings. Let's go ahead and just jump right in. So Capablanca is white. He plays the 3 knights opening, and black responds with the 4 knights opening. You can figure out why it's called that pretty easily. Bishop to b5, and Capablanca likes to trade. And this is something that I've noticed going through a lot of his games. He is not afraid to trade pieces. Like if it's maybe I'll trade, maybe I won't trade, he's going to do it, right? Because he's so comfortable at the end game. It makes sense. So he trades the bishop, castles, kicks the bishop back, gets this bishop out, and now he starts to do a little bit of maneuvering with his knights. And this is something that you can get away with when the position is kind of closed off. All right, so what do I mean by closed off? There's not a lot of open files and diagonals where black is really threatening anything. The pawns are kind of locked up in the center. It's a very slow game. And so he has time to play moves like going backwards with his knight and rerouting his knight around. You have time to do that. If you try that in a different opening, like maybe the King's Gambit, it's not going to work as well. So it's important that you understand what type of opening you're in if you're going to be doing things like this, okay? But he understands that, so he reroutes the knight. Goes to e3 and h4. Now you can see the idea behind why he did this. He wanted to put his knight on f5 using the help of the other knight, so he is going to have 2 knights jumping into the f5 square. That's exactly what he does. Queen goes to e6, and he plays f4. This is a pretty common idea when you want to attack on the king side. If you open up the F file, if you guys have watched me play any of my live stream games, you know that I like to do this a lot. Push the F pawn, trade it off. It opens up the rook as well as the bishop. Okay, so that's what he's doing here. Black trades the knight. We get a trade here. Some bouncing around with the bishops. And again, Capablanca is like, look, I just want to go to the endgame. I know I have this pawn structure advantage, and so I'm going to force a trade here. Even though this bishop's like sitting way back there, he knows that by trading it off, he's going to get closer to that endgame where his pawn structure advantage actually matters, right? Early in the game, these small pawn structure things don't really make a big difference. But if you get into an endgame, that's when they start to count, and that's what he's doing, okay? So we get a trade here. King b8 to stop the queen from invading and causing black problems. Rook f2, knight e8. He doubles up on the only half-open file on the board that he has, right? The only file where he doesn't have pawns that would block his rooks. So that's always a good thing to think about. Black plays f6, doesn't want to allow this. Oh, and by the way, a good moment for you to pause. If black would have taken this pawn, what do you think Capablanca would have played? If you had a chance to look at that, he actually can invade with his knight now because the queen no longer controls the square. It is protected. He's attacking the rook. The rook can't move here because you have this little tactic of it's a check, but you also unleash your queen, and you would now take black's rook. So if you can't go to f8, you have to go to g8, but that just allows white to invade on the 7th rank, and now white's position is really, really good. Black's queen is very misplaced over here. So that's just something I wanted you to be aware of. Okay, so f6 was played in the game. Capablanca plays b3, knight d6, rook f4. This gets traded, which of course Capablanca was very happy about. Rook to e8. Okay, so now we need to talk about this position. This is going to be the starting position for our endgame study for this lesson. So the doubled pawns means white is going to have an easier time of making a passed pawn. Okay, so if you think about this pawn right here, it's almost a passed pawn where no pawns can stop it from becoming a queen. But there's this pawn on f6, right? So what do you think white's plan should be if you want to turn this guy into a passed pawn? Well, one option would be if you could play d4 and e5, and then they trade, you would now have a passed pawn. But that's going to be kind of a weak pawn because it's going to be isolated. Still a passed pawn, but kind of weak. A better option would be if you could push this pawn to here and get black to take you. Now you have what we call a protected pass pawn, which is even more valuable because it can just sit there, very well defended. Nobody's going to be able to take it, and it's going to be a constant threat of becoming a queen, right? So this is kind of the key plan for Capablanca. This is also something that's called a minority attack in chess. When you have 2 pawns against 3, that's the minority, only 2 against 3, right? But if you push them up the board, usually you can cause your opponent some problems. Because if they take you, well, we've already talked about this, now you have this passed pawn. But if they don't take you, you're going to take them and create some isolated pawns of your own to attack. And so this is kind of a key idea in this endgame, this minority attack, okay? And that's exactly what he does right away, g4. Black plays b6. Now, the other side of the coin here is when you're trying to do something on one side of the board, your opponent might be doing something on the other side of the board. And if you can totally shut down what they are trying to do, that's usually a good thing. And that is what Capablanca goes for here. He plays the move b4. He doesn't want to allow black to start getting these pawns rolling down the board with a move like c5. Because if you can start pushing this, and now you've sort of stopped this one from advancing, maybe you can play b5 and at some point sacrifice to just undermine everything here and open things up and create weaknesses. Maybe black's able to generate some counterplay. So what Capablanca does is say, oh, I'm going to play b4. And now if black tries to push either one of these pawns, guess what? He's just going to take it and just win the pawn, right? So he's kind of shutting down what black wants to do. Same thing here. We take it, we win a pawn. Very, very good for white, right? The only other way black could push would be to play b5, but now you've really shut down anything that they could do. And so by playing one, simple move, he's making it much more difficult for black. Okay, so that's just a key idea. So we get king b7, king f2, b5, a4. Now, what's going on with a4? I think black was planning on doing something like this and trying to sneak in, and Capablanca is saying, look, I'm going to get my pawn here if you ever try to come up. Like this. Totally shut it down, right? And he's not worried about black capturing because now these are super weak. He can just come over and take it. This is also going to be a target, and it's actually just very bad for black. So that's the idea with a4. So we get rook d4, attacking the pawn here. Capablanca just defends it. Rook comes up, king comes up, a5, rook e6, back over here. So mission accomplished. He's totally shut down everything happening on this side of the board. We've seen this before in other rook endings. He did something similar. I think it was actually the last game we looked at. He shut down all the counterplay on one side of the board. Now he's going to focus on the other side. g5. We talked about it earlier. He wants to undermine this pawn either by taking and creating a big weakness or by luring black into taking like here. And now he's got the protected pass pawn. Okay? And Capablanca actually noted in this game 3 things in this position that were very good for him. Number 1, he's got the protected pass pawn. Number 2, his king is very active and better placed than black's. And number 3, he's got control of the open file. So all of those things might seem like small things, but if you put them all together, it's actually a very big advantage for white. He takes the pawn. Black's trying to, create some threats, but it's very easy to deal with. He goes back, h4, g6, rook g5. He just wants to push and trade. Okay, finally the pressure was, kind of released. He also has the rook, so now he's able to push this one. The king tries to come in, and Capablanca plays a very nice move here, I think. Rook to f8 check, and he's basically saying, no, you can't come in anymore, or it's going to cost you, because now I can come over here, take this pawn, and I'm going to have this pass pawn. Now, Stockfish says that's still actually the best thing to do. Try to get the king involved, but black didn't want to do that and decided to keep it over here. e5. He pushes, king comes up, he makes the trade. Now he's going to win the other pawn, okay? And the big thing in white's position is this protected pass e-pawn. The rooks are going to constantly have to guard it, otherwise you just get a queen, and that allows white to basically do whatever they want. And so takes the pawn, blockades this, makes a trade, and he's threatening to come over here and take another pawn, which would give him 2 pass pawns. There's this idea in chess that you need to have 2 weaknesses to win an endgame. So like just one weakness, usually they can defend pretty well. But as soon as you have 2 weaknesses, now it's like, excuse me, your opponent has a hard time dealing with that, right? Because it's like, okay, how do I stop both of these? So that's kind of the deal here. Black tries to throw in some checks, but it's pretty easy. His king is just going to run and hide over here, get away from that. He still has the same threat. And black gets a little bit desperate, plays the move c5. I don't know, hoping for this maybe, and then this would be a weakness, but Capablanca takes this way, keeps his strong protected pass pawn. Black goes over here, d5, and I think it was right here Black resigned. And the reason they resigned, well, you tell me. If they try to take the pawn, how could Capablanca win the game from here? All right, if you had a chance to look at that, so there's lots of winning moves, but the coolest one that I thought, that I found was c6, and you force the king here, and then you play d6. And yes, you're sacrificing the rook because now you take here, and there's no way to stop this pawn from becoming a queen. The king is too far. The rook is obviously cannot get there, and white just wins. You're going to get a queen and easily win. So really instructive. What you need to understand about this endgame is a couple of things. Let me just go to where it starts here. So number one, if you have doubled pawns, that's a bad thing. If not, then you need to see where do you have the extra pawn. So in Capablanca's case, it's kind of like this area of the board. So he focused on this one, and using these pawns with the minority attack, created the pass pawn. He also activated his king towards the center, so it could help defend and support things. And he maintained control of the open file a little bit later in the game, whenever that happened, over here. Oh, and also he shut down his opponent's counterplay, right? So all of those things kind of fit together to win an endgame that looks pretty equal, right? So hopefully that helps you guys. Thank you for the feedback on this series. Please continue to let me know if you're enjoying this and learning something. That helps me know like which videos to make. So thank you guys a lot for that. I appreciate it. All right, I'll see you next time. As always, stay sharp, play smart, take care.